Okay, welcome to episode 27 of the Bobcast. I'm Bob, here with
Grace, World Destroyer, and we're going to talk about 1D&D, also known as the death of D&D as we know it, according to Reddit.
Quick, everyone overreact as much as possible.
Everyone get mad. Now's the time. We're playtesting. Get mad. But actually also try to bring about the changes that you're angry about. You know, that's what it's for.
Yeah, big part of this reminder that the survey about these things comes out on September 1st, which by the time this podcast goes up will already have happened. And they usually only leave these things up for like a couple days, so hopefully it's still up when you're listening to this. Hopefully they put it up, leave it up for at least like a week or two, but we'll see. You know, I actually read a comment somewhere saying that, yeah, this doesn't really feel like a playtest period like they did for D&D Next, because with that, apparently they actually held gatherings. I don't know if these were just at conventions, but where it was like, okay, basically assigning groups to like use these rules and then getting feedback from these groups. Whereas this is really just like kind of just like a regular Unearthed Arcana where people just read it most of the time and then are gonna fill out a survey. But how many of those people actually incorporate it into their game in the two or 3 weeks before the survey came out, you know?
Yeah. I mean, in a post-COVID world,
yeah,
I think still discouraging large gatherings is probably, you know...
It's smart.
Yeah.
It would definitely be a bad look, at the very least, to for them to, like, encourage that same kind of playtest. But the point is, they're not actually encouraging play testing. They're really just like, read these rules, tell us what you think.
Yeah. And, well, obviously people are going to try to, like, run games in 1D&D, but, like, with a new rule set, you know, people are going to make mistakes on those rules, and then there will be misunderstandings and misinterpretations. And I don't know. I don't think there's really, even if they did go to a convention and like get a bunch of people to play, it's obviously not going to go perfectly.
Right. There would always be problems, but I have to imagine, could be wrong, but have to imagine that in play is where a lot of the faults of these rules would actually come up. Or like then just seeing how people misinterpret things, because they'll implement it in a certain way, and then we'd realize like, oh, that actually wasn't the way it was supposed to be implemented based on its wording. So without that actual play period, we could run into some of those issues down the line, but we'll see.
For example, the wave dashing in...
What's that?
So one of the new races in...
Is this Spelljammer? Is this the
Hadozi
Hadozi thing?
The Hadozi wave dashing.
I didn't know what wave dashing is, but I know what you're talking about
Where
now.
you can, like, for every foot you descend, you can travel 5 feet. And people are like, so all you have to do is just jump in there. You could go 150 feet per round.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, it's more than that, because the thing is, if according to the rules in Xanathar's, if you fall up to 500 feet per round. So depending on how high you are in the sky, you'd fall 500 feet, and
the thing is that people are talking about like using it on a flat surface.
Oh.
It just like jumping up. As long as you have a strength score of 10, you can jump up a foot. When you fall, then you travel 5 feet, and you just keep doing that.
Yeah.
And for every, you know, it only counts then as 1 foot of movement. So you can just keep.
Yeah.
So.
You can do it 30 times. Yeah, that was the only... I mean, it's such an easy thing to fix that, because it really is just... You just have to say the horizontal movement also comes out of your regular movement.
Yeah.
They just didn't do that. So therefore, you could go almost infinite distance up to whatever you can fall in a round. You want to tell them what's going on?
Her baby ship, Lady Squeaks Caddington III, is lying with her little head resting on my phone.
She likes rectangles.
She likes rectangles and things that are smooth and or warm. And my phone is probably both.
And yes, she has been officially recently titled.
Oh yeah, she's titled. She owns a 1 foot by 1 foot square of land in Scotland.
Anyway, what's the first thing we should talk about with this? Actually, the big one that I feel like we didn't think about while we were brainstorming some topics, but a lot of people are concerned about, is like the potential of microtransactions and stuff. What do you think about?
Hate it.
Well, hate the potential, of course, but like, do you think it's a likely scenario?
Like in what? Like on their
So digital bundle goes up for the book. You get the cool maps to run in the digital play experience, and probably with that map you get all the minis associated with that set piece encounter. But then maybe, if you want this monster and you didn't have it as part of a map, it like costs $1 to download, or like this skin for your player character mini or something. Like just a lot of tiny little.
I mean, I just hate the concept of microtransactions in general, because it's like, if you're gonna sell me something, sell me the whole thing. Don't make me buy basically another whole thing just to actually get the complete product, you know?
Yeah. And it's actually kind of funny, because I feel like what they could just do is literally say, here's a huge minis pack, and it would cost like $50 and be like Monster Manual Volume 1 or something, and just include like a ton of monsters from the Monster Manual, the equivalent price of whatever they would cost, for the microtransactions. Maybe it's like 75 monsters for $75. People would buy that and not complain about it. But when they buy them all individually, people would be like,
that's its own separate thing, I guess. I mean, I would just do what I have always done and scroll the free...
Yeah, whatever, the available ones.
Whatever, like on Roll20 until I find something that looks kind of like what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Because, like, when do I even actually use monsters from the Monster Manual anymore? Almost never. True.
Yeah, I feel like...
or if I do, I've reskinned them to be, like, hairless displacer beasts. Or, like...
Unskin them.
I'd unfur them.
Unfur them. Yeah. I don't know. I bet there will be, like on Owlbear Rodeo, how there's just a generic token for each monster category, monster type, whatever it's called, creature type. And a lot of people will just use those. And I could even see, I bet there could even see some like funny memes in the future about like how people always use like a certain monster, or like a certain token to represent certain monsters. And then like in the D&D fandom headcanon, like a certain monster just looks like totally different than what the designers wanted it to, because that's how everyone actually plays it. I don't know. Overall, I also think it might be a kind of small proportion of people who use the digital play experience, especially in its early stages, because it's such a big jump, I feel like, and it's expensive, I think.
Yeah, and so if they're going to link it with like the D&D Beyond character creator, I actually do not like D&D Beyond for character creation.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's easy now because we have access to all the books.
Yeah.
But like if you don't, then you're
really limited.
You literally cannot use them.
Yeah, or it's
without
like you have to go
like
way out of your way to create
quote homebrew.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas on Roll20,
in Roll20, you just put in whatever you want.
Yeah.
If your DM gives you a cool magic weapon, you just type in the description and then you can use it. Whereas like D&D Beyond, the DM has to create this homebrew thing, which then can like be used by everybody else, even if they maybe don't really want it to. And I don't like it.
I guess it is more complicated.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of unnecessary layers of difficulty to using it, which hopefully they'd get rid of, because obviously they want it. They claim they want it to be as user-friendly as possible. So who knows? Maybe that stuff will change in the future.
Yeah,
because the more they do,
I definitely prefer the blank slate that I can just type whatever I want over just clicking like a couple check. It's not even as like engaging to me to just select something and then everything's already laid out for me. And I think for some people even that makes it more difficult to learn your character.
I do believe that, yeah, because there's less. You need a lot less understanding of how the characters work to create one, which is, it's just like a double-edged sword. Because obviously for brand new people, that's awesome. Oh, I just have to like click this button? Okay, cool. But then they aren't really ever learning how it works unless they go out of their way to learn how it works elsewhere.
So yeah, I think D&D
maybe there should be
Beyond
different options for
is like just
building.
not intuitive enough. And
it's so intuitive that it loses intuition.
Yeah, basically.
Let's talk about something that's I thought was intuitive, but maybe now I don't agree with. The inspiration rule of getting it on any natural 20. What do you think about that?
I honestly don't think it's going to impact gameplay that much. Nobody ever remembers when they have inspiration.
But I think now they will, because inspiration just gives straight and a free advantage, and you choose when you use it. It doesn't stack or anything. You can only ever have one at a time.
Yeah, you can gift it to someone else, though,
and
right?
And you can gift it. Yeah, and I think that's really cool. But I just think that now, like, you're going to probably roll at least one crit a day. And if you just use it relatively quickly after doing that, you could end up getting, like, 2 or more just free advantages on rolls per day. And it just seems like it could be too much.
Yeah, I don't love it. Even if I did think that people would actually use it, which I am not convinced.
Why wouldn't you use it? You just think they're going to forget the rule? I don't know. It's like when you get a crit, I feel like that's a reminder. Oh, yeah, now I'm inspired.
I think it is like a cool little bonus to like get something else, because sometimes damage from crits can be underwhelming.
Totally.
I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, definitely.
So like getting something else is kind of cool, but maybe it shouldn't be this. Because even every crit is not an awe-inspiring moment.
That's true too.
Like,
because a lot of them could just be random. Well, I mean, it is by definition
you're
random.
sneaking. You're being stealthy, and you're sneaking, and you roll a natural 20 to be so stealthy.
So good.
Nobody even sees you. So how are they inspired by or picking a lock? You're surreptitiously picking a lock, and you pick it so good that everybody around you is in awe.
Picking this lock.
So I don't think in my games I would use
Super Saiyan while picking a lock.
So I can't picture it adding very much to the experience.
Do I get to play Through Fire and Flames by Dragon Force every time I pick a lock critically? I just need a montage of some kind every time. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. The extremity. I mean, it depends on how you want to flavor it, but yeah. That's probably how we do it because it is the funniest way, and therefore our D&D games would be that much more silly and ridiculous.
Yeah. Which some people hate.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess my initial impression was, ooh, I like this because it will remind me to actually use inspiration, and advantage actually seems like a meaningful thing instead of just getting like a bonus D6. Just like regular inspiration, I don't like it, and I always forget about it. I don't use it at all. This seemed like something I would use, but yeah, maybe it swung too far in that direction. So
it will be kick ass for rogues. Because if they have advantage, they get sneak attack.
Yeah,
so that might be a little... I hesitate to say that anything is broken without personally playing or experiencing it myself, but that might be a little broken.
And you know what? That's interesting. It reminds me, a lot of people were like, oh no, with this new crit rule, like the way however they rewrote crits, it wouldn't affect the sneak attack damage and like the smite damage of paladins. But what you said...
No, because that's a spell.
Okay. Yeah, I guess so. But what you said just makes sense, because now it's like, well, okay, but if you get that crit, you can also choose to have advantage and like be more likely to hit and land your smite or whatever, or I don't know.
Well, your smite stays on your sword whether you hit or not.
I played a paladin like once.
Yeah. Can we just reread what the crit rules are? Because when I first read it, I didn't get all I remember is that it doesn't work for spells.
Weapons and unarmed strikes. Asterisk. Have a special feature for player characters, critical hits. If a player character rolls a 20 for an attack roll with a weapon or an unarmed strike, the attack is also a critical hit, which means it deals extra damage to the target. You roll the damage dice of the weapon or unarmed strike a second time and add the second roll as extra damage to the target.
I see. Because they specify the damage of the weapon.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure a rogue sneak attack counts as damage from the weapon because it's the damage of the weapon type.
I don't know the wording myself, and I don't think we need to look it up now, but I will say a lot of people on the internet were like, this doesn't affect rogues anymore. So
okay,
that's the general impression at least, but maybe the majority could be wrong there. Don't know.
Yeah, that's something that Wizards of the Coast should specify when this really comes out.
But personally, I don't think that was an issue because I feel like that was something a lot of DMs used to complain about with rogues. Was like, oh, they can do insane.
Well, now that it's official, they have to have something else to complain about. So
yeah, I mean, that just goes back to the fact that like a lot of this is stuff that people have asked for, and now we're giving.
Mad that they got it.
Yeah, so, and again, I do think a lot of that was just like, I don't know, like a weird frazzled state that the D&D community was in when this came out. Partially because we weren't expecting it so soon. Like we knew it was going to be big news at this Wizards Presents thing, but not only an announcement of like this playtest stuff happening, but like same day, here's a bunch of rules. There wasn't a lot of like mental preparation. A
literal game-changing announcement.
Yeah, just thrown at everybody.
Yeah.
So that probably wasn't the best type of release for this stuff. What about crits just always succeeding and like natural ones always failing?
I don't like that. I mean, natural ones... Not
necessarily a fumble, but
yeah,
just a fail.
Well, yeah. Because what if you're dealing with a, like, divine entity of some kind? Their DCs should be, like, 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So even on a natural 20, you wouldn't succeed. Which you shouldn't, because this is a god. But... also, there's the whole thing that, like, if it's not possible, you shouldn't ask for a roll.
Exactly.
So that is where my reasoning kind of is flawed, I guess.
I don't think you're flawed. So here's the thing. Your reasoning is flawed. You're definitely not flawed. But I think that that idea of, like, you shouldn't ask for... I guess what I'm trying to say is in my games, if the DC in my head was over 25, I really considered the fact whether it should be rolled at all, and generally leaned on don't bother. But our games were generally like below level 10, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel like in 5e, there is room for DC 30, DC 35 checks. And this does make that useless. Now, because most people also don't play above level 10 or 12 or whatever, like wherever that start cutoff kind of is, I don't think it will actually affect a lot of people's games. But I do think it makes that high-level play even less balanced.
Yeah. On the inverse, though, I also think natural ones shouldn't automatically fail all the time. Because say you are a rogue or a bard and you have jack of all trades or reliable talent or expertise.
Well, they get to reroll ones, right?
No.
Something else?
You get to like double your proficiency bonus or add half your proficiency bonus depending on what thing it is. Reliable
Basically,
talent specifically means you can't roll less than a 10, so I guess that doesn't really matter here.
Yeah. But you're saying the people who have a really high skill bonus?
Yeah, and they have worked to have that skill bonus to be that high. And, you know, even with a 1, their actual roll could be like a 13, like depending on the level.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's tough. Because part of me wants to say, it's like, of course, rolling as low as I possibly can on a die should mean I don't succeed at this thing. But you're right that for specific cases...
I think what you should get inspiration for is rolling a 1 and still succeeding at something. Because that's inspiring.
That would be good. Yeah, because I've actually heard people say it should be 1s instead of 20s. But I like your reasoning there. It's like, if you would have passed because of your bonus, you know what I mean? That actually makes a lot of sense because it's like kind of guaranteeing or at least reinforcing a later success that like you kind of should have gotten there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not bad. It would come up less often for sure. It's not very common that you will have passed a roll if you roll a 1. Because then it goes on the other side of the scale of like, well, if the DC was only 5, why are you even making them roll? But now you actually ought to do that.
I think maybe that should only apply to skills that you are proficient in. If you roll a 1, it's not not a guaranteed failure. But that kind of makes everything more complicated too, which I am against.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want. Like many people, I think I just don't know what I want.
Yeah.
and I won't know until I play it.
Well, I was saying, that's why we actually need a genuine playtest period where we try these rules and see what's fun and not.
I don't have time for another game right now.
Right. Well, yeah. And just to go back to that, that's kind of what's annoying about this process is that they said every month they're going to release one of these and then have the survey. And so does that mean, like, once the survey's done, like, are we going to revisit these at all? Like, I suppose down the line.
So wait, they're changing this every month? Or...
No, there's just going to be a new PDF of different playtest rules coming out every month.
Different rule sets?
Yeah. So like this was character origins, quote unquote.
Okay.
Next month, don't know what it's going to be yet.
Oh, okay. I guess. So they're not like introducing different character origins. They're going to introduce like different
new
combat
kinds of rules
or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a class or something. I don't know. Maybe like monsters. It could be anything. But then, what I'm getting at is after people answer this survey about crits, I guess it depends on the level of mixed responses that they get.
No, I guess if everybody's taking the survey within a month,
then they move on to thinking about different rules, and they stop thinking about changing how they're going to change these.
Well, I kind of don't think they're going to do that, because they still have to go through all kinds of editing to put them in a book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I guess probably closer to the actual release of this stuff, like maybe late 2023, early 2024, they'd release like a big one with a lot of the rules, basically, and just see what people are thinking. All right. What do you think of these spell lists?
I like that they split them up the way they did. Or
combine them almost.
Yeah, instead of having it be like a billion different, by a billion I mean like 9, but like a ton of different spell lists. And I think it makes it more fun because then, wizards now have access to like, quote, sorcerer spells. And I think that's really good for like the flavor of like
magic.
Yeah, a flavor of magic, the taste, if you will. The disappearance of Eldritch Blast, though.
Bum, bum, bum. What could it mean?
mean, when you first told me that they were combining all these spell lists into, what is it, Divine, Arcane, Primal, I was like, well, should wizards be allowed to cast Eldritch Blast? Because that's always just been a warlock thing. And then we saw that Eldritch Blast wasn't on the Arcane list
Warlocks can't even cast Eldritch Blast.
So what I think they're actually going to do is, like, how Mordenkainen's multiverse, whatever.
That should be the real title of that book.
Mordenkainen's Multiverse of Madness. And how now casters usually have this thing called Arcane Blast. I think warlocks are going to get that as a class ability.
I didn't even know what Arcane Blast is, actually.
Yeah.
Tell me and the audience who's like me what that is.
So in the way that they redesigned the stat blocks for casters is that instead of having like a dumb weapon that is basically useless for them, casters, like say you're using an Archmage stat block, they have an attack called Arcane Blast that can be melee or ranged and deals force damage. It's basically Eldritch Blast.
I was going to say it sounds like Magic Missile or something.
Well,
like,
it doesn't always hit.
It sounds like a synonym for Magic Missile.
You still have to roll to hit. Okay. Magic Missile always hits. Yeah. This does not. And also there's only one blast, unless they have multi-attack, which they can multi-attack with Arcane Blast. So I think for Warlocks, it's just going to become at level 1... as an action, you can attack with Arcane Blast. It deals 1d10 force damage.
Renaming Eldritch Blast.
They'll probably, for Warlocks, they'll probably still call it Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, I feel
like it'll just be a class feature. Yeah. Eldritch Blast at first level, you can attack as an action with.
Yeah, because I would say to keep it quote unquote backwards compatible, they definitely have to still call it Eldritch Blast because I don't know. Actually, maybe they don't. Was all those Eldritch Blast extra features just in the PHB originally, or are there ones in other books too?
There might be some in like
assuming
Xanathar's
there's some
Guide.
in Xanathar's and Tasha's, they gotta keep calling it Eldritch Blast.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool that there's now only 3 spell lists.
Right.
Because it also makes homebrewing things easier. Mm-hmm. Because now when you homebrew a casting class, you don't have to write a spell list for
You don't
it.
have to go through every single spell and decide if it should belong to this class.
Yep.
And it's like when they create new spells, they could just say, yeah, this is an arcane spell. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, my class gets arcane spells, so I can use that.
Yep. It no longer has to be like a 3-class list for
See, now
can use the spell.
Now I really like that level of simplicity, but I'm not actually certain. This is something we should look at.
What is it going to do for additional like subclass spells, do you think? For example, if you're a celestial warlock, okay, that's a bad example. You are You know what? I bet they're just going to remove that feature entirely.
Well, is this like a specific thing that this would affect?
Because for like warlocks and clerics and certain casters, you can gain access to spells that would be off your class spell list from your subclass.
Okay. Yeah, this actually says right here, because this is what I was curious about. There are now 3 main spell lists in the game, Arcane, Divine, and Primal. And future Unearth's Arcana articles will show how classes use these lists and how a class or subclass might gain spells from another list.
Okay, so it might still... Because I was just thinking, like, you know, Celestial Warlocks can get cleric spells, certain cleric spells, or...
And a lot of people brought this up for bards being arcane casters, but then probably losing healing stuff if they only had the arcane list.
Yeah.
So I think that'll still be a thing. My main question, because it's not really clear in this doc, but I think Jeremy Crawford explained it in the hour-long interview with Todd Kenrick, are these 3 things the only spell lists, or are they just tags basically being added to each spell, and then they're still mostly going by class lists?
Yeah.
Personally, I would like just the 3 lists, but I think a lot of people would probably prefer the class lists. That was at least based on some comments that I got saying it makes like individual casters a little less unique if they all like share the same list. But I don't know. I don't play a lot of casters. So
I don't think that's true. I think it just opens a lot more possibilities than it closes. It adds
options. I think it just gives you options because it
Yeah,
basically
it
makes
gives you
each class
options.
list a lot bigger.
Like, what's a complaint that I used to see a lot in like D&D versus Pathfinder? It's like
there's not a singular like best spell that you'd have to choose for certain classes. If it's hurting your brain, don't even think about Pathfinder.
I can't think of the word that I want to use.
Optimizing?
No.
Not min-maxing? Those are the only
No.
Pathfinder words that I know. Is it an acronym for something?
No.
Pathfinding?
No.
Feet tree. Yeah, that's my whole Pathfinder vocabulary.
It's not a Pathfinder word. It's just a
Okay.
word that I can't think of.
Okay.
It's really bothering me that I can't think of the word.
Oh. What describes...
Because I had such a good
This is
point,
like
but I can't make
this
the
is
point
like
without the word.
a concept that this word sums up?
It's like, I don't know, the whole point is stupid, so you should probably just take it out since I can't remember the word.
Okay. Well, backgrounds. I think it's cool that they added a bunch. Well, first of all, it's cool that now the default is building your own. I don't necessarily love that there's a feat with each one, but everyone's like, hey, now at least it like means something more mechanically, which is
Yeah,
neat.
I think they added the feats because backgrounds used to have like special little features, and those are much harder to create than just like picking a feat.
Yeah, and they weren't necessarily balanced. Like some were just definitely better than others.
Yeah,
like
which is why
Outlander.
everybody's an
Yeah.
Outlander. And your ability stat increases should always have been based on your background.
Yeah, I think my understanding is that backgrounds were kind of a new thing in 4E. So, like, it's not like backgrounds have always been around to be the place you would get those stat increases. But, yeah, it makes sense to me that it's like your abilities are based on the, profession or occupation or whatever that you had before becoming an adventurer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess with classic D&D, the idea is that, like, oh, these races were actually way more distinct from each other, like, just as different kinds of creatures. And so, therefore, they had different, like, aptitudes. But definitely the thinking around that has changed to being, like, they're all humanoids. They can all interbreed. Therefore, they have pretty much the same aptitudes. And it's really what you choose to do that determines where your ability skill increases should lie.
I saw a post on Reddit that said ability score increases should be 1 point from your race, 1 point from your class, and 1 point from your background.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Because then it's not even like they all would have to be different, because if you were like an elf wizard, you probably have intelligence for elf, intelligence for wizard, and then whatever for your background. So it could still be 2 + 1, which I prefer over 3. single points.
Well, I think that would still be fine because background could be like you just choose where it goes entirely. And then maybe race, like you choose between 2 or 3, but class you just get 1 probably, like a certain one.
Yeah, I mean, that might just make it more complicated.
Right. You know? Whereas this is definitely simpler.
Yeah, they want to streamline
that is the direction that everything's going here. You know, to go back to the spell list, for example. It just simplifies a lot of things.
Yeah, make it smooth.
Yeah. For our smooth little brains. Yeah, nice. With backgrounds, how do you feel about the language situation? I think I'm the only one who cares about this. It's like you choose any language from your background, like any language whatsoever, and
like
then
rare or common language.
Yeah, and everybody gets common, and then you choose another one. You just choose another one, actually.
So you get 3. Everybody gets 3 languages.
Everybody starts with 3. Yeah. I guess. Yeah, everybody starts with 3.
I think everybody should know common, obviously, because sometimes people think it's funny if like one character in the group doesn't speak common and somebody else but it's
common
it never actually matters that much. Because then it's like, yeah, just assume that I'm translating everything you say, so it's not even that much of a gimmick. But anyway, everybody should know common. For backgrounds, you should be allowed to choose a common language. The rare ones should be reserved for people who have actually had a reason to study a rare language. Yeah,
basically, I think it would be fine if they just had it, everybody knows common, and then you choose one based on your background. I just think like the free third one is over the top. And that only really bothers me because, again, like it was just a thing in my 5e games where there would be times where I would like want to introduce something that the party would have to, find a way to translate, basically. And of course, there's like spells that can do that too, so I'm not trying to take that away or anything.
This is why you introduce dead languages.
Yeah, you have to create your own rare dead languages instead of using the ones that are in the game, because chances are somebody just knows that language randomly, like with every language.
I think what they could do is introduce like a linguist feat where...
I don't know if anybody would take it.
Well...
Wait, isn't that a thing already?
I don't know.
I think it was.
But it could be you get like 1 or 2 additional languages. Yeah. They can be rare languages, and you could get like
if you spend
a bonus
long rest,
to investigation checks
studying...
with like recalling things about this language or the people who used it.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because there are people who want to make scholar type characters who would make use of that.
And
especially in games, if you're running like a full what's the library one?
Candlekeep?
If you're running a full Candlekeep campaign, then like having a character who just like knows languages and that's their thing is a really good fit for that.
Yeah, it's also like, sorry if I'm ignoring your point there, but I was counting these languages. It's funny to me that there are more rare languages than standard languages too. Like, if I were creating a setting with streamlined rules, it might be weird, but I'd probably have like, I'd go the route of all those divine things. They just use the same language. Divine. Like, you know what I mean? So then you don't need abyssal and celestial and infernal or whatever.
Demons aren't divine. They aren't fallen angels. They're their own thing.
So then what kind of magic do they have? Arcane?
Probably.
Okay. So then they don't get included in that. But you know what I mean? Like, there's just too many. And the fact that all aberrations always spoke the same language was stupid to me, because the point of aberrations is that they're so different from everything else, like including each other. So the fact that they all just share a language, like, no, they should just have telepathy or something. And you don't ever know what their language is.
Also, I think most of the rare languages still even use the script of a standard language.
Yeah, I guess that's not indicated here.
It was in the player's handbook.
Yeah. And people have made a good point that, like, the way it's moving with races, like the idea of the racial languages is also kind of strange, because it should be based more on where you're from. Like, we've gotten away from, oh, here's the land of elves and here's the land of dwarves, in which case it would make sense if they have their own languages, like being really distant. But now everything's so, like, metropolitan that, I don't know, languages are kind of their own topic.
I see that they have put Druidic and Thieves' Cant in the rare languages.
Which tells me that you could just choose that in your background.
Yeah, I mean, I think you should be able to. Like, if you're playing...
It's cool.
For example, a charlatan, or isn't one of the new backgrounds just criminal?
That was one of the original backgrounds, I think. Yeah.
And even if you're not necessarily playing a rogue, like, you should probably still know Thieves' Cant.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's cool because how many rogues actually ever got the chance to use Thieves' Cant? Because the DM just never introduced another rogue.
Play.
Yeah, there's so many misconceptions about what it actually is. Like, is it a sign language? Is it a code? Is it its own literal language? Like,
they should define it better.
Yeah, they really should.
In whatever 1D&D is, they should define what exactly or at least give better guidelines.
Yeah.
I think Druidic having it here is kind of weird because that's supposed to be like a very secret language that only Druids know.
Yeah, but for me, that's always a thing where it's like, Druidic should just be the same thing as Sylvan or something. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm drawing too much of a parallel there, but to me, Druids are...
I feel like Druidic is a combination of Primordial and Sylvan.
I buy that.
It's kind of like how I would say Undercommon is a combination of Deep Speech and Elvish or something.
Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, wait, that's Urchin. Where's like the criminal? Maybe they get Thieves' Cant. Because each background, these built ones come with a language, so...
Oh, I saw it.
Did you see it? Was it?
It's
Charlatan gets Infernal. That's
go down
bizarre.
One. Criminal. Oh yeah, Charlatan gets Infernal. Yeah. That's interesting. But that's just you're trying to build your background around your character,
right?
So whoever this charlatan is maybe a tiefling or
yeah. So here's how they say it: you're fluent in Infernal, the ancient language of deception.
Okay,
it's not bad. I do think it's a stretch. It would make more sense to just have Thieves' Cant, but it's not bad.
I guess it depends on what kind of charlataning you're doing.
All guards learn Dwarvish. Like what? Do they even
well, that's what I'm saying. Not all guards,
here?
Just this particular guard knows Dwarvish.
What do you mean? Oh, okay. If you use this background.
If you're approaching this from a viewpoint of whoever made these backgrounds in this playtesting material had a character in mind when they made the background.
Right. Yeah.
So
at the end of each shift, you bunked in the mayor's barracks alongside your fellow sentries and the dwarven smiths who kept your armor snug and weapons sharp.
So they're writing in reasons why these people from these backgrounds know these languages.
Yeah. This would be a really good one to have sign language though.
Yeah.
The guards, right? Like that'd be cool.
I think the new background rules are a really good exercise in just backstory writing.
Yeah.
It makes you, if you want to have a background, it makes you think about what your backstory actually was.
Yeah.
Because you have to make it yourself.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to read the noble one here is striking me, and I think this is a neat example. You were raised in a castle as a creature of wealth, power, and privilege, none of it earned. Your family are minor aristocrats who saw to it that you received a first-class education, some of which you appreciated and some of which you resented. Was it truly necessary to read all those ancient histories in their original Draconic? Because you have the Draconic language. Your time in the castle, especially the many hours you spent observing your family at court, also taught you a great deal about leadership. So it is a nice little, tight backstory instead of pages on pages of whatever. All you would really have to do is, throw in some names for the people and the places, I guess. But I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's four or five sentences? That's great. Because it's just enough that the DM could. But if you were just to present that to your DM instead of inputting a bunch of names, even that is actually great too, because then your DM has a lot of flexibility with helping you, working with you to create a cool backstory that can be incorporated into the campaign. I like these backgrounds, is my verdict. Okay. Dragonborns of Dark Vision, also cool, and Ardlings exist. What do you think about that? Last thing to talk about.
Ardlings. I've seen so much arguing about Ardlings. People saying that the existence of Ardlings means that furries are blessed by God. Things like that.
Wow. Do you think it's true?
I don't know, man.
Depends on what God. you believe in, if any?
It depends on if you are heavenly, idyllic, or exalted furries.
Yeah, I mean, look at Exalted right there. The fierce passions of Arborea, the wondrous nature of the Beastlands. Anyway, I don't want to rag on furries.
I'm not ragging on furries.
Yeah, I don't think you are.
I
either.
have nothing against furries at all. Live your life. I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent toward it. I think it's a little bit weird that like they already had Aasimar.
Mm-hmm.
They could have just called this Aasimar and nobody would have said anything. But because they changed the name.
Yeah. Again, I really think it was just a weird move where they had just rewritten it for Mordenkainen's whatever book. And then we're like,
never mind.
We just published that. People will get angry if we publish the Aasimar again. So let's just create this one. And they needed some excuse for allowing people to choose to be any beast folk they wanted in the player's handbook.
I think you could still choose to be an Aasimar. I think I would kind of have it be like similar to how I say tieflings are, where you are more likely to have a tiefling with some kind of weird trait, like a strange skin color or horn formation, the closer you are to the infernal ancestor.
Okay.
And then the further down the line you get, the more like diminished those traits would be in a tiefling.
Makes sense.
So it's kind of like with the Ardling, like if you are
it's really close.
First generation removed from a celestial, you've got an animal head.
Yeah.
If you are 100 generations down the line and that blood is still present, you just look like a human.
I guess I'm just lost on like, I'm seeing the Beastlands also mentioned in the idyllic lineage. Like what is the Beastlands? I never heard of that. Is that new lore?
I think it's an upper plane.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember reading about it. It's in the Dungeon Master's Guide, which nobody reads.
I don't read the planar stuff. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, and in that way, it totally makes sense that the Ardling is like a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it has the higher pedigree, I guess, of an Aasimar. Definitely not something D&D wants to lean into with like the purity of different races. But you get what I'm trying to say is really it's just closer, like you said, to its celestial origins. But then it's kind of like assuming, like, as far as I know, all the Celestials in the monster manual just look like humans, not animals. So, I don't know. They're kind of...
Maybe they're going to change that.
Maybe they will. And they totally could, because there's like that's something people talk about recently. There's very few Celestials in the game at all. Mm-hmm. So they
in
can totally
3rd edition, there was one that had like a dog head.
Okay.
But that's the only one that I remember.
Yeah, so I think they would ease everybody's minds a little bit if they just called this Aasimar.
Aasimar 2.
Blended it
Celestial
in a little bit.
Boogaloo.
I mean, or actually do what people were saying, because they were like, I can't believe they removed the Aasimar for this. It's like, well, they can do whatever they want. So yeah, just get rid of Aasimar, use this now.
Yeah.
Like, who cares what the name is? It's basically the same thing.
They did something similar with tieflings. At least they kept the name tiefling. I mean, the way they, like, restructured the race. And that one I'm bummed about, because I really liked how there were, like, 9, like, tiefling
tons of options.
Heritage options in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, I think it was.
Yeah. The original Mordenkainen.
Yeah. Yeah, because I love tieflings.
Yeah.
And I want to have as many options for tieflings.
But now you only get
so
3.
I can play 9 different tieflings, and each one could be different. But now there's only 3.
I think they're pretty cool, though. Well, actually, this Abyssal one, resistance to poison and knowing the poison spray cantrip? Like, how dare they do that after a billion fans have complained about the fact that poison, like the whole damage type, resistance to it, all that's worthless. Because it's like every monster is resistant to poison, and it's rarely used against the players. You know what I mean?
I've been using it a lot, actually.
Has it been working? Got any dwarves in your party?
Nope.
Okay, well there you go.
Or no, I think it's more acid that I've been using.
Yeah.
But there was some poison.
Okay. Yeah. I just think maybe they should replace that with something else. Different kind.
Yeah, cold.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because
I don't know what the lore of the Abyss is actually like. Is it cold down there?
According to
Mordenkainen?
no, it's an actual book.
Dante's Inferno?
Yes, according to Dante's Inferno, Inferno, the 9th layer of hell is cold. And
but
there
the
is
Abyss is...
Well, we're still talking about hell here. Or wait, no, because that is...
Yeah, no, the Abyss.
Oh, yeah, never mind. Okay, yeah. That would be like a demonic tiefling then.
Right.
So that makes sense that it would be poison.
Yeah, because for some reason demons are all poisonous.
Yeah.
I think that's just dumb in general, but yeah.
What did I say it was? It's because like demons are poisonous and have resistance to poison because they are a poison as a blight on humanity.
Have you said this on the podcast?
I have said that in a Reddit comment once.
Okay. It sounds familiar. You must have told me about it then.
Yeah. But it is physical and metaphorical poison, and that's why demons are poisonous.
Yeah. They just need to get rid of poison resistance to like half of the monsters outside of demons that have it, and then it'd be fine.
But there is a level of hell in the 9 hells in the D&D multiverse.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
Stygia.
so the Levistus one. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do know that because it was in Icewind Dale.
Levistus isn't even actually the lord of that lair. He just
isn't he like,
stole it.
Like stuck. Anyway, I don't know. Wow, 1 D&D. I don't know how short I'm going to edit this down to, but this is like the longest episode we've ever recorded. We're at almost an hour here right now.
There's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. And so here's the thing. With this being like, I don't know, you know, the first 1 D&D talk, it does make me think that this is like a good capstone to maybe be the final Bobcast before, you know, we switch to the new podcast, not like abandoning it forever. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do another Bobcast next month, but maybe next month will be the first of It's What Our Characters Would Do, which will have a little more structure, a giveaway. I guess there's some stuff I'd have to organize still in time. Part of the reason that got delayed was just because the art, well, first of all, I was flexible with it, didn't really have a strict timeline, but the art has been like super delayed, this cool like looping animation I want to have on the video versions of it.
By the time this podcast goes up...
This is going up in a couple days, so...
Oh, okay.
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, so the new channel wouldn't be live yet. Because that's not until...
well, it's created.
Well, yeah, but...
And I'm not going to put these up at the same time, because patrons are still going to get all these episodes, you know, before they go up on the channel. Early access and RSS link, so you can listen to it on any podcast platform.
Now I have to think about what I've said about my home game in these podcasts, because I knew none of them were patrons and would listen to the podcast, so I might have done like some spoilers.
Well, I'll talk to you about that later. So yeah, if this is the end of the Bobcast, if 1 D&D has officially killed the Bobcast, well, where am I going with that? I don't know. This has been cool. I was saying at the beginning of this, whoa, episode 27. We've done this for like 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Can we just say, though, I think the name 1 D&D is going to go the way of D&D Next.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just going to be 5.5.
They would have to push so hard to like new people who just don't understand, frankly, that it makes more sense to be called 5.5 or 6, that it's the name. Because the vast majority of people who are actually familiar and helping actually, you know, do these surveys and stuff definitely understand that, like, no, this is either like a half or a new edition, the way it's being presented.
It's also just not a good name.
No,
1 D&D?
No.
Hate it.
And, you know, the other alternative of just calling it D&D in general is cool, but then it adds a layer of confusion for all the people who do play other older editions.
It's just called D&D parentheses D&D.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
D&D,
5.5 or
D&D.
6 is definitely the way to go.
Dungeons and Dragons, and...
They should just, so now that we're stopping the Bobcast, they should just call D&D Bobcast.
Oh, yeah, they're just trade names.
Yeah. And we'll just call this D&D.
Okay.
Well, and also, hey, if this is the last episode, I think I'm going to let you close it out with your little phrase.
Stop building.
The end. Maybe. Probably. We'll see. Bye.